Yeah, I am a distinguished engineer at ServiceNow. I was hired to build a hybrid transactional and analytical processing database, which is a recent trend in databases in the last few years. There's a lot of research going on. What it means is we are trying to build a database that has a row store and a column store inside it. And this database can be built in different ways, but we are trying to put an OLTP engine, which is online transaction processing engine, together into one database. So I'm the architect for this at ServiceNow. I've been there for close to a year and a half, and we built an initial version of it. That's what I'm working on right now. I think one thing I realized in more than 2 decades of my career in software engineering is it's a multi-dimensional role, being a software engineer, but primarily, you you need some good friends and mentors in your initial years, and you need to connect because it's a professional working place. So you need to connect with others on a professional level first, but since you are in a very early stage of your career, it's easier to build some good friendships also. But primarily you are looking at in a dual way, like you're connecting with people at a technical level, like in the areas that are interesting to you, and then you're also forging some good friendships with them, right? Like they are the people who will go for lunch with you, take coffee breaks with you, or tea breaks if you're a tea person like me. And probably even go out for dinner or go for a movie on the weekend. But at least at work, they are the people you like to hang out with, whether you are sitting and looking at some code or brainstorming a solution on the whiteboard, or stepping out to take a break and have some chai. So that's the way I would say, you know you build relationships. um so the key for that is, realizing what you're doing, be aware of the work you're doing, and how important it is to you, for both the company as well as for you, right? And so the focus should be on, what am I doing right now? Is this something of value to the company, to the customer? That's one or two questions you ask. And is it of value to me, right? And if you think that it is not adding value, but it is still adding value to the company and the customer, finish off whatever you're working on, get it done. But you also realize that there is, the software engineering job is a constant learning process. I started with operating systems, then I started doing distributed systems, then I went to networking, I did distributed systems in networking, I did operating systems infrastructure, then I built a cloud routing operating system. So the theme, now I'm helping build database, the theme is building products and building some hard products, as well as learning a lot of technical stuff. So if you don't like what you're doing, the fact that you don't like what you're doing, you realize that that's the first step. The second step is, don't shirk away from your responsibilities. Finish whatever you're doing. Don't walk away from something in the middle of it. When you go outside and show people that I had a tough time, but I helped finish building that, whatever I was doing, I hung in there, even if I didn't like what I'm doing, people will love you and respect you for that, right? And that is the kind of people everybody is looking at. When I am looking to hire people, I'm also looking at there, right? When it got tough, when the going got tough, did you hang in there or did you walk away? So that's the key. But the moment you realize that this is not something you're liking, then you start looking at, what do you like, what are the other opportunities, is this an opportunity that can be available within the same company, or is it available outside? Do I have a network of people that are there outside that I can depend on and go talk to? So you can, as you can see, first, within the company, can I change the role? um, Outside the company, can I change the role? Do I have some good mentors who can talk to me during this phase and make me look at the brighter side of things and how I can get to where I want to go. Those are like the initial steps that you would take, right? And like I was saying, when you're building your career, it's a constant learning. There is no such thing as I went and did my undergrad, I went and did my masters, I started working, I'm set in life, this is what I'm going to be working on all through my life. No, it doesn't work like that. What you like to do in the first 5 years, you may not like to do in the next 5 years or the next 10 years. It's a learning, and the technology and the industry is changing, so you got to see in that journey where you want to be. I think what I would say is, you don't wait. See, you went and got a job, right? And you were working on it. It's not like you went and joined a job which you didn't want to do, and it's like, let's say you were in a company and there was a reorg happened and they put you in a new role and you didn't like it. That can happen. But it can't happen that you took up a job at a new place and you don't like what is going on. Sometimes it can happen, right? But you were probably given a wrong impression, or you got a wrong impression of what you're going to do. But let's say that you are doing something and at some point you stop liking what you're doing, right? So I like to use this term called inflection point, which is something I have looked for all through my life. I think starting from my undergrad days, even from my study period, like, and when I started working. But I didn't realize till several years later that this is something. It's like a gut feeling when you feel like something is not going right and you want to make a change. But there is a big time from when you feel the inflection point coming up. Like, you get the gut feeling, but you still don't feel it's time for change. And from the gut feeling point to the point when you need to make a change, right, around the time when you need to make a change, there is some time there for you. But you already, that is the period when already things are not as rosy as they seem. There's something that is bugging me, right? And there's a moment in that time period where it's an inflection point. It's a time for change, period. You just got to do. And if you don't make the change, suddenly another couple of years will be gone before you realize that that has happened. And it's happened once very badly for me. I became a principal engineer in Cisco. I was asked to work on this initiative, a huge initiative for the company. My senior VP, it was a SPED project, and it was very important for Cisco. But career-wise, probably it was not a best move for me. And my manager said, Raj, please give it 3 months. Just get the initial work going, and then you can step out of it. And by the time I was done, it was at least a year. And I continued working on it for a year, but not with my full 100% on it. But at least at the end of the year, I said, this is it. I'm not going to be doing this. I'll walk away, right? The mistake I did was I went and looked for something else to do within Cisco, and I worked in some other group and I didn't like it. And after a year, I went and worked in another group and I spent 2 years. But eventually I realized I really want to get out of Cisco. I'm done at Cisco. I don't want to be here anymore. But it took me like almost 4 years to realize that. And by the time I found a job, because I'm a senior person, and I had to find what something I like. It took me like 6 months to decide I want to move on. So sometimes the long time is gone before you make the actual change, right? I was making changes. I wanted to go from A to B, but I went from A to C to D to E to F to B, while doing that, which is what I really wanted to do. And then it was there in the back of my mind. And my career could have been different if I had made the move right at the time when I came to the point A in my life. And so that's the thing, right? When the inflection points happen, if you are self-aware, that's the other term I like to use, you would notice that you are in an inflection point, in the period of that inflection point. And now you start looking at, what can I do? What can I do? You have to be like a cat on a hot tin roof and say, I got to make a change now, right? Like, come what may, and start working towards it. But make sure you don't mess up your current job. And so, and then, so I think then you won't be at the point where you are continuing to feel like life is a drag. I don't like this job. I don't like this management or something like that. You probably already made a move before that. That's something to keep in mind, like when things don't go the way you feel they are going. Hard problem, to me, I've always looked at building a good relationship with my manager. So what that means is I want to become the go-to person for anything technical for my manager. And that means I need to build the trust with my manager, right? Like it's a two-way street. My manager looks at me and says, I know I can depend on Raj. I can throw some hard problems and he can get it done for me. And more importantly, I trust him. I can work with him. He can make sure that the two of us and the company, we put those values together and we get that, those values achieved, right? Or whatever those goals achieved, right? So I always try to build a relationship with my manager. And there are times when it has been hard to do that, but that's the time when you decide, right? Is this the place you want to be, or you have to move on, right? But I'm always giving the benefit of doubt to the people I work with, right? Like that they are working with their best intentions. And when things don't work out properly, you're always trying to keep it objective and not make it personal, and look at, what would you do in the situation? How would you react? So the same thing, right? Like if I were the manager, what would I do? This is the problem I have. What would I do, right? Like put yourself in the manager's shoes and see how it can be addressed. So if I want to address a problem, if I want somebody to address a problem, I don't go and just say there's a problem. Can be done to resolve this problem, or at least start some baby steps towards resolving the problem. And so the conversation is more like, hey, this is going on, but in order to make it better, maybe we can do this or do that, right? And see how that person is reacting. And this is where the trust is important. If there is a trust between myself and the manager, they are willing to listen and see what we are trying to say. But if the trust is not there sometimes, or if there is some distrust there or mistrust, it's possible that they are a little bit tentative in the approach, right? So, but the way I have always worked is, in public, I'm always trying to help my manager. I'm always not having any disagreements. I'm always trying to see what is the right thing to do. And then in private, also, when I go talk to my manager, most of the times it's like having a good conversation, right? Like it's like, if you're talking to your friend, you can always say something that is brutally honest, but you don't want to break your friendship either, right? So you try to put it in nice way that your friend can see your point of view. I would do the same thing with my manager, like make them see my point of view. And then be ready, right? Like you are raising a problem to your manager, be ready to, the outcome to be either in favor of you or not in favor of you. You are bringing up a problem, so you got to be ready for that. That way, if the outcome is not in your favor, your disappointment, the level of disappointment is reduced because you are ready for it. Yeah, it happens many times. It can be pretty this one. End of the day, you know, different companies say different things, right? Like I see on LinkedIn all the time saying, wow, I treat my team members as my family and all of that. But end of the day, like I was saying, at a certain point in your professional career, it is a professional career. Don't make your work be the beginning and end of your life, right? Like have a life other than just work. Like even at work, everybody knows that couple of days a week, lunchtime, I skip lunch with, the buddies. I'm always going out for lunch and I go for a run. Same thing on the weekends, on weekdays, go do something else that motivates you, that brightens your day, right? Like that you like to do. So don't let your work dictate your life. That's what I would say, right? And just realize that sometimes it's just a job. This job, I need to hang in there. I cannot just quit and walk away. I need this job. So hang in there, get that work done. But outside that 8 to 10 hours you're giving for work, get out and do something else fun. Go hang out with some other friends, or go to something that you like. That is what I would say, because there's always going to be, in a long career, there's constantly ups and downs, and most of the time you will find that you can't control it. You just can't control that environment. There's so many factors. Your manager, like a lot of times they all realize that this problem is there, but they just can't do anything about it because of various reasons, right? So the important thing to realize is, those moments of life, you just focus on getting your work done, but you find other avenues to let out your frustration. I used to play racquetball for a long time with different friends. It was a great way to go release frustration. You're whacking the ball very hard, right? So find something to relieve your frustration, but always treat your workers, co-workers, and your family, the same way that you would treat anyone who's very close to you. That's something very, very important to keep. Don't show different faces of yourself to different people. Try to be authentic and be the same person who plays a very hard racquetball game, or when goes for a run, does their best ability to run. And if you are like me, married, and my wife, I do my best to keep her happy. You do the same thing at work too, in spite of, irrespective of what the circumstances are.
So what are
Questions were focused on, right? Like, how how can people bring self awareness to their job, their personality, and their day to day life, right? Like, how can they be aware of the various things going on? It's like you step out from your body and look at what's going on, and then objectively deal with it, right? Like, more like a coach, right, rather than a mentor. I really like, some time back I was reading this book, The $1 Trillion Coach, I think. Bill Campbell. I mean, if people haven't, particularly people who have been in the industry for a while, if they haven't read that book, or it's available on Audible, go listen to it. It's a great book. Everybody needs a mentor and a coach in life. In fact, this conversation reminded me that currently I don't have a mentor at work. And I was just thinking, like, after the last time we spoke today, I was thinking I should go look for a mentor at Service Now, because everybody needs a mentor slash coach, right? As you're growing, you don't need just a mentor, you actually need a coach as well, who coaches you through these phases in your life. And I just realized, like, I need that. Eric Schmidt, who was the CEO of Google, Steve Jobs, all of these guys have had coaches in their life, right? So that is something I look at, and I see that to a lot of budding, colleagues and friends, that's a role I like to do indirectly. And there have been times when people have actively asked me, and then I say, like, hey, I was trying to give you that point, this point. I was indirectly seeding that in your mind, but now you are asking me directly. I'm happy to help you out, but you probably didn't realize I was already helping you even in the past, even before you asked for it. So that is something I like to do.